Welcome friends to another r/AskReddit video. The only question I have for you is could you hit the like and subscribe buttons down below? It really helps support the channel. But our question of the day is by KarisMR, Lawyers of Reddit, what's the pettiest reason you've ever seen for divorce? Our first answer of the day is by BRKIRI. Nobody ever believes me about this one, but it's true. A man wanted a divorce from his wife because, and he gave this example as the last straw, his wife ate those nasty pumpkin Halloween candies, like candy corn but pumpkin shaped. He'd been looking forward to them all day, and when he got home, she had eaten them all. He snapped. Swear on my life this story is true. Okay, so whether it was family or in a relationship with somebody, I feel like we've all had these kinds of moments. Maybe not actually following through with it, but like, you know when you've had some leftovers or like a box of Oreos or something somewhere. You're looking forward to it all day, and then a sibling or a parent or a significant other ate it before you could get to it. In that moment, didn't you think to yourself, oh, I would just disown this person, this is it, I'm breaking up? But you probably didn't actually mean it. If you've ever had a moment like that, let me know in the comments down below. Our next answer is by SafeWordIsJohnCandy. The weirdest I've ever seen is a coworker of mine. His wife saw a picture of him at a pool when he was in high school and really athletic. Toned, muscular, tan, and so on. Over the 10 years after high school, he stopped lifting and lost his muscle tone and just became skinny. She told him she wanted him to get back to working out because she really liked the way he once looked, and he said it was something he missed doing and agreed to get a gym membership. He was going to the gym 4 days a week, but he was only really working out for 2 of them. On the days he didn't work out, he would sit in the sauna to get sweaty, watch Netflix, and then go home. When she asked about him going to the gym and accidentally let it slip that he was fudging workouts twice a week, she apparently found that to be a deal breaker and filed for divorce. I really thought this was going to be something just entirely predicated around them preferring the way they used to look and that being the reason. But in the end, it actually kind of became somewhat a legitimate reason, just in the sense that they were kind of leading them along and lying to them all the time they were going to the gym, at least half the time they were going. Should it have been something that broke a relationship? I don't know, but some people might feel really torn about being lied to in that way. Our next answer is by an anonymous poster. I had a client who with his wife were into a computer game like The Sims, only more X-rated. I think it was called Second Life, where you have an avatar and you can interact with other people's avatars. He suspected his wife of, through her avatar, hijinks and made his own avatar to stalk her in the game. Sure enough, her avatar was doing the dirty with some dude's avatar. That was it for my client. This is actually an interesting question for those in a relationship. If your significant other was in some kind of social game like this hooking up with people, would that make you feel some type of way? Or is it just a lot of insecurity if it's just a virtual fake characters, if it's not actually tied to them as a person? Kind of an interesting thing to think about. Our next story is by Weberster. Not a lawyer, my mom's coworker divorced over dishes in the dishwasher. The wife would get so frustrated over the husband, coworker, not rinsing dishes before he loads them in the dishwasher. To compromise, they bought a super nice top-of-the-line dishwasher. Solves the problem, right? She yelled about the dishes that night. He filed for divorce the next day. This genuinely begs the question, are you team pre-rinse or no rinse at all? Let me know. Our next answer is by Yashki. Not a lawyer, but this happened to my wife's cousin. Her husband came home one day asking her to give a higher financial contribution on the groceries because she, as a lady, was using more toilet paper than him. She took it as a joke and had a good laugh. He got mad and asked for divorce. Worth mentioning that his salary was 3 times higher than hers. I think it just goes without saying that ladies are going to tend to use more toilet paper. If you're going to complain about them using more of one thing, toilet paper is a really weird hill to die on. They're probably spending more in other areas as well, but toilet paper is both cheap and a necessity to use. If anything, she dodged a bullet. Our next answer is by Terrific Torsion. Friend's wife is a marriage counselor. She had this couple coming in trying to work things out before a divorce. The husband went non-stop on why he wanted the divorce. She said 2 incidents really stuck with her. The first was the husband was doing some yard work and asked the wife to carry some twigs he trimmed from some bushes. He grabs a huge stack and lugs them over the pile that he was going to mulch. Wife just grabs a couple of sticks. He asked if she could carry more than that, and she picked up a couple more sticks. She said the husband emphasized the word couple. The second was the wife told her husband that they'd finally gotten to a point in finances where they could buy a new vehicle. The husband said he was excited and sat down with his wife to price vehicles. The husband said everyone he showed her was out of their budget. He became extremely frustrated and asked what the budget was. She replied, $2,000. That was the tipping point for the divorce. Well, let's be totally clear and honest here. If somebody came to me and said, we can finally buy a new vehicle, you're not buying a new vehicle for $2,000 anywhere, at least in the United States. $2,000 will get you some early 2000s, well, it runs kind of car. And if it has working AC, that's a huge bonus. So don't even start with the new vehicle thing. Our next answer is by Jules1220. I decided to divorce my first husband when he complained about me buying lunch at McDonald's. He had called me at my office, asked me what my lunch plans were, and I said I was meeting with my friend Kelly at McDonald's. He started complaining about spending money for restaurant food and that I should have packed a lunch from home. We had just that past weekend bought him a new pair of ski boots that cost over $100. It was the final straw. I was unhappy about a few things that I could have overlooked, but to be lectured about spending $6 on a burger and fries was just too much. I let him whine for a few minutes, gently hung up the phone, walked into my manager's office to quit, went home, and started packing. This is such a tough situation for OP. Not only do they realize that they're not meant for them, they have to divorce, they apparently had to quit their job to move back home. Remember, honey, keep it on the dollar menu. By the way, can we get another pair of ski boots to match my other $100 pair? Honestly, it would drive me nuts too, so I totally get it. Our next answer is by ActLaw12. From my experience, if something petty is the stated reason, there's usually a lot more to the story. One of the pettiest reasons was when my female client believed that her husband loved his mother more than he'd ever love her. Now, I'm going to answer a different question. What was the craziest reason for a divorce? Glad you asked. My client, female, was convinced her husband was having an affair. He worked some construction job but always came home smelling great. She finds texts from his work friend Bob where they were planning some late-night pipe repairs. Well, this is the South. There's no such thing as gay here, so she believed that him and Bob were just working late. My client feels awful. She thought her husband was cheating, and clearly he wasn't. He cared so much about her that he worked with Bob all through the night. He even cared so much about her sense of smell that he'd even shower so she wouldn't have to smell all the sex. Pipe cleaning stuff. She feels so bad she takes him to dinner. He asks her if she wants a drink, and she sees him walk off to the bar to get their drinks. Most thoughtful husband ever. Well, a minute turns to 5 to 10. Finally, she decides she has to find him. She looks everywhere, then realizes that she didn't check the men's room. She's afraid her precious husband is sick. She jiggles the door open. Her husband was on his knees, but he wasn't sick. She caught him giving a stranger a good time at the bar on their date to make up for the whole, sorry, I thought you were having an affair thing. The reason I know this in such detail, she wrote a 7-page front and back letter detailing every sexual thing her husband ever did, thought about, or even looked like he thought about. If somebody's working a construction job and they come home really late, unless they have some weird company locker room with a shower, they should not be smelling like roses. Hopefully for this lady, as tragic as that entire story is and how tragic it is to see her reassure herself that that must not be the case over and over again, maybe the experience will teach her to lean into her instincts a little bit more, even if things might seem a little too hard to believe. Our next answer is by Charles88. I know a guy whose fiancée nearly called off their wedding because he forgot to disinvite his attractive single female friend. They eventually got divorced over it. Said friend was a part of a larger co-ed friend group. Apparently the guy in the story was designated driver one evening out when his fiancée was out of town and dropped everyone off at home one by one. He He apparently dropped this particular friend off last. Logistically, it made sense on the route he took. She lived closest to his house. But that meant that they were alone together in the car for around 8 minutes. They have zero romantic history together, nothing happened, and they barely interact, save for when they're gathered as a group. His fiancée became highly suspicious of him, and she was convinced something happened between him and the friend, despite him calling as they left the bar, and 30 minutes later when he arrived home alone. They have a doorbell camera which she was watching. She asked a bunch of questions about what they talked about at the bar, when they were in the car, and what was said when the two of them were alone. She then casually said she doesn't want her coming to their wedding. He agreed to disinvite her, but he forgot to, and just thought the whole thing would blow over. Well, wedding day arrives, and she shows up in an Uber XL with 4 or 5 members of the friend group. The fiancé can see guests arriving from the bridal suite and throws a full-on tantrum when the friend arrives. The wedding planner locked the bride, groom, best man, and maid of honor in their hotel room and told them to work it out. They did not work it out. The bride wanted the groom to tell her to leave, and he tried to point out that would cause way more of a disturbance than if they just let it be and pretend she didn't exist for the day. Wrong answer. The best man eventually got a hold of the groom's phone and called the friend and explained the situation. She left the wedding and hasn't spoken to the groom since. The wedding took place 45 minutes late while the makeup person was called back to fix the bride's makeup. They eventually split after the groom realized that the accusations would never end. Everyone was suspect. His coworkers, his friends' wives, her friends. He couldn't talk to any other woman, no matter how harmless the conversation, without her getting suspicious. And yes, we all thought she was cheating on him. We made the mistake one time of bringing this up, and he became belligerent and attempted to fight everyone, so we left it alone, and we'll never know. Usually in situations like this, it's definitely a big case of projecting. Oddly enough, the people who are usually very sensitive about somebody possibly cheating on them tend to be the ones cheating to begin with. And honestly, in the guy's situation, on your wedding day, there's a lot of pressure to follow through with it, but in that moment, you wish that could have been like that lightning moment where they just realize, this isn't right. As painful as it would be to cancel a wedding or walk away with cold feet, sometimes self-preservation is the right thing. And our final answer of the day is by More Alex 412. Not a lawyer, but one of my philosophy professors, now ex-professor, and his wife got a divorce because he tried to exorcise her. The Christian school didn't take it well, and he's no longer a professor there. Well, actually, the couple was getting a divorce due to the wife having a year-long affair with a professor of the rival school across the street. The attempted exorcism didn't help matters, though. Since several people seem interested, the exorcism didn't work according to said professor. The couple got a divorce, the professor got some custody of the kids, got screwed in the money matters, and now his ex-wife and kids are moving to Ohio. I guess the thing with the rival school's professor didn't work out for the ex-wife? While his oldest daughter's preparing to go to the school he used to teach at this fall. Poor girl has to pay her way now, when she planned for most of her life on going for free. The whole story was pretty big for a while at school. The professor went to jail illegally for like a month without any accusation against him because he answered a phone call from one of his super young daughters. His wife had filed a protection order for herself, not the children, and the campus police took him away, even though he didn't answer the call on campus. It was a whole scandal, and the school was involved way more than it legally should have been. Super weird stuff. According to this professor, the president of the school was demon-possessed, and that accounted for the whole thing. It gave a portion of the student body something to covertly argue over for a couple of weeks. I don't know about a lot of these stories, but trying to give your wife an exorcism is probably pretty up there on the reasons of, this is why I'm getting a divorce. And then the story just devolves from there and has so many new avenues, and there's a campus police that jailed them for a month, and it's like, dang, what happens at these Christian schools? Just imagine seeing that headline anywhere if it got out there publicly. Professor illegally arrested for a month for answering a phone call from his young daughter. That would cause some outrage online. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.